Thank you. Mr. Quilty.
Thank you, President. My question is for the Health Minister. There are 16,000 applications pending approval from people waiting to enter Victoria from New South Wales. Most of these are Victorians just trying to get home. They've been stuck in New South Wales without a home for weeks. Many are unable to work and are paying for accommodation on top of their usual mortgage or rent. They are in desperate situation caused entirely by this government. International human rights organisations describe people in these situations as internally displaced persons, refugees. These Victorians have a right to return home, and the Australian Constitution supports this. State governments may not prevent free movement between states. Any exception requires good reason and must be a proportionate response to be legal. Melbourne already has a significant COVID outbreak, yet even people who test negative COVID are being refused permission to return home to Victoria. Minister, in what way is preventing COVID-negative Victorians returning home a proportionate response?
Mr. Symes.
Thank you, President. I will pass the question on to the Minister for Health, noting that it's asking for an opinion, but I'm sure that we can provide further information about the measures that the Victorian Government is undertaking to ensure that Victorians can get home. You would be aware of the new permit for Victorians that are currently in the New South Wales side of the border bubble, and their ability to access a permit to return to other parts of Victoria with strict conditions such as self-isolation. In relation to other Victorians that are in New South Wales, there is a National Cabinet discussion around the returning of people to their homes across the country, and indeed these considerations look at the protections of the health of the states that people are returning to, hotel quarantine capacity and the like, but these are issues that are being discussed and advanced.
Mr. Quilty on a supplementary.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Minister. And as the Minister just said, the government recently outlined new rules that may allow some of these people to get home. To apply for this permit, you're required to be in the border area for 14 days. You must be able to isolate at home for 14 days, test negative to COVID, and get their first dose of the vaccine. In effect, these people have been locked out of their homes, and the only way to get back home is to submit to getting a vaccine. There's no COVID prevention reason for this. Anyone returning to Victoria will not have COVID, and if they did have COVID, getting the vaccine wouldn't stop them bringing COVID to Victoria. There's no justification for requiring a first dose of vaccine as a condition for returning to your home. The government forces these people into a desperate situation and then abuses their vulnerability of the situation to coerce them into getting a vaccine. The Australian Immunisation Handbook makes it clear that consent is not valid in the presence of undue pressure, coercion or manipulation. Minister, what is the government's justification for requiring Victorians to take a vaccine before allowing them back to their homes?
Thank you, President, and I thank Mr Quilty for his question, and indeed the Minister for Health can provide some further details on this, but all requirements, all on people returning to Victoria, or indeed entering Victoria, are made on public health grounds for the protection of our community.